This is Ozark Tim up bright and early with his headphones on, even. I'm trying to be a little bit quiet because my dear wife of nearly 40 years is still sleeping. And today we're going to hear from, I'm going to clean my glasses while I'm talking to you. Today we're going to hear from Zbyshek Pawlak, uh, who also goes by the name James because, well, first of all, Zbyszek is from Poland, and I first met Zbyszek when, let's see if this is Zbyszek. All right, Zbyszek's coming on. I first met Zbyszek uh, in Kazakhstan, actually, and he was working with a navigator group, and I joined that group, and my role was to set up an English teaching center. And then we also had English clubs. And Zbyszek was being an English speaker, Polish speaker, and Russian speaker. Um, Zbyszek is sending me messages, so please excuse me. Oh, he wants me to check my email. So let me see if I can do that. Let's see here. Yeah, Gmail. Okay. Hey, I'm just trying to check my email if you can hear me. Just a minute here. Can you hear me, Zbyszek? Okay. I just see what you sent, so hopefully I can. I mean, I think your other one's gonna work fine if we have to use that, but just a second, because now I have to download it, so it just takes me a minute. Um, Second part. Okay, let me open it, and then I'll see it. It should, yeah, it says VEEDIO on it. Okay. We might wanna do a little quick experiment here because I've got some tabs up, and, let me go back to the Be Live just a second here. Uh, okay, so you can hear me okay, and you see me okay, is that right? Okay, I'm using my headphones, so Sabrina's still sleeping, but she said, "Tim, if it's Spishik, you can talk to him in the middle of the night. It's fine. He's such an honored individual in our home. He deserves special treatment." Okay, just a minute. Oh, well, she gets to spend her entire day with my daughter today because, Courtney is having a baby in June. So she's it's her it's her fourth one. Oh yeah. So yeah, so we've got this will be our sixth grandchild. So I'm experienced. I'm like a sage of grandfathers, Bishop. But anyway, but while she's spending the day with her darling pregnant daughter, I'm going down to Fayetteville, which is about, I don't know, 20 miles or so from here, and I'm gonna participate in anniversary of a Union versus Confederate battle. Yes, so and I'm part of an artillery group, so we get to fire a cannon, and this cannon is it's owned by a 17-year-old boy who's still in high school, and he got it because the man who was in charge of the Confederate group, reenactors. Okay, we're not a bunch of racists, okay? Okay, listen, we're playing the role, okay? So don't go get freaked out. Uh the guy who was in charge, when he died, he bequeathed it or gave it to this boy, and his dad, the boy's dad, is in charge of our group. So just think, if you're the dad, how you'd feel. Hey, wait a minute, shouldn't I be getting that howitzer? It's a mountain howitzer, so it was meant to be moved through the hilly. It's very hilly here, very hilly. It's not like we don't have, like, 5 big giant mountains like in the Northwest, like Mount Rainier, Mount Hood, but we have hilly, 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 hilly. It's the Ozarks. It's where hillbillies live, and Jesse James ran away from the law, and it's it's a people used to hide out in the caves around here, 'cause there's a lot of caves during Prohibition where alcohol was illegal in the United States, and they would they would have jazz clubs, music clubs in the caves, Zbyszek, in the caves, and they would drink, and then the FBI would come down and then shoo them out of the caves, and then they had back passages where they could escape out of the caves. It's crazy. That's Bella Vista. That's where I live. And so anyway, I want to practice this before we're on live, by the way. So, but I'm not. I don't see. I have the chat. I think I have the chat turned off, but I don't see. So anyway, if you're online at 5:30 in the morning Central, 11:30, what do you call it, Greenwich time, we are just dealing with just one quick technical thing here, and it involves sharing the screen, which I did all the time when I was doing COVID stuff. Okay, I see it here, Zbyszek. Okay, tell me what you're seeing. You're probably seeing my Gmail screen, right? Is that what you're seeing? Okay, hang on a second. Let me do this other thing first. Now, can you see me again like normal? Oh, I see. I didn't turn your screen on.
What you mean? I could see myself.
Okay, can you see me now? You can see everything? Okay. Now let me just do this screen. Oh, I had to stop sharing. Okay. Now,
now I see you.
Okay, I pushed the stop sharing button, and that's what I was supposed to do. So let me ask you something here. Can you see this? Can you see the PowerPoint now?
I don't see PowerPoint.
Okay, give it just a second.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if you see it. It says I'm sharing a window, and you don't see it?
Mm-mm.
What do you see? Just my face?
But you know what? Wait a second. I see you only.
Okay, it says I'm sharing it. I don't know. I don't know why.
Just a second.
Oh, just a minute. I got to turn on the shared screen. Okay, now let me ask you this. Can you see it now? The PowerPoint.
Can I see it now? I still don't.
Let me turn you off. And let me Zbyszek, can you hear me again?
Oh, now I see two screens.
A minute ago, did you see the PowerPoint screen?
No. Sorry, no, I haven't, but
Okay, let me just try one more time here. Okay, and I'm going to share the screen.
yeah, this is now it's better. The screen is better.
Okay. Bear with me here just a second. I'm sharing your first part now. Now tell me what you see.
I see you. Okay, I see it.
Okay, now you see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep all three of us on, and then when it comes time to share your stuff, I'm going to do.
This is good.
Would that be good? And then I think what I'll do is now I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to turn me off. Okay. Okay. I turned myself off so you can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
So what I'm trying to do.
I see you now. I see
Yeah,
a picture of you.
what
Interesting.
I'm trying to do is maximize the screen. So in order to do
Mhm.
that, I might have to turn both of us off. So I'm gonna do that for a second, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring you back on, and then you tell me what that experience was like,
Okay.
okay? Because I'm
Yeah.
trying to only share the screen, but I want you to be able to talk and be heard. So, by the way, if you're online and being entertained by all of this, this is Zbyszek, the two of us just trying to figure out a
Okay.
technical issue. So, and I see that you have James shared screen. Okay, so let me um, let me turn us both off now. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to turn myself back on. Zbyszek, did you just see the big screen? It was big. Okay. I think I'm going to show a slide and you talk during it. So, and then when I hold my thumb up, okay, or in a minute, just I want you to talk. Okay. Uh,
Mhm. Raz, dwa, raz, dwa, raz, dwa. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But now you can see me and the screen.
okay.
It's
Can you
moving
hear me
on.
again?
I hear you, see you.
Okay. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to turn you off and only have the screen up, but I want you to talk. Were you doing that
Yeah.
before?
Okay. Yeah. I will do that. Yeah. I'm
But
doing
we're
it now.
okay.
Yes.
Just a sec. Just keep talking so I can. Oh, perfect. Great. Okay. Great.
See
Great.
full
Okay.
screen.
Good. It
Good. Good.
worked. It worked. So here's the thing. Okay, Zbyszek, it worked. Worked. We're good.
Okay.
So
Good.
when I go to share screen and in the audience,
Can I try to show my screen?
uh, well, let's see if you can. I'm gonna
Yeah.
hit your shared screen. Here we go. There you go. So I think I gave you control on the settings, so you should be able to do
Man,
that.
you gave me control over the
Uh-oh,
world.
scary, All right, so why don't you go into presentation mode.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, that seems to work. Okay, so I'm gonna turn my screen off now,
Interesting. It's good.
and
It's
we're gonna
even
only
better.
have you, and then that way you'll be able to now I've got two shared. Okay, I see what I'm doing. Okay, now I'm gonna turn myself off, and then I want you to open up. I'm gonna give you a chance to open up your PowerPoint fully, and then just say a few. Oh, here I see you came on again. Okay, okay.
Okay, now it's fine.
Do you understand what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna give you a minute to just talk. Okay,
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. Okay, good. Good to see you guys. Happy to be with you. And I can see myself, but I don't see the screen. Maybe now I change. No. Somebody needs to change my screen. Okay, okay, okay. Sure. Oh, okay, it's coming. Good. Yeah, this one I need. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you very much.
All right,
Excellent.
Zbyszek, can you hear me again?
Can we try
Okay,
that?
good. I think we got it. So yeah, so that works. Whatever I did, I gave
Mhm.
you authority to share your screen, so that works best. And so let me just introduce what we're
Good
doing
job,
today, and
Ben.
then
Good
I'll
job.
turn myself off and give you the floor. Hey, it's always good when I can
But I
guess my
like when
way
you are
through
there.
technical
I
things because
no, I like when you
I
are
don't read
there. It's good.
manuals. Oh,
What if I
okay. Well,
turn off
I it'll
myself
make things
and you are
smaller.
there? Ah, okay, okay, I see.
So,
Okay.
Zbyszek is here. I know many of you will either listen to this live, but most of you are going to hear it after I present it through Facebook or YouTube, my Villa Scriptura channel. If you're not familiar with that, it's VILLA Villa Scriptura, sort of a play on Sola Scriptura, but House of Scripture, which I hope I remain in the rest of my life. Zbyszek, I first met Zbyszek in Kazakhstan, my wife and I were there working and getting an English training center going and doing some Bible studies and things. But of course, we were like little babies learning Russian. So we had to have a big adult Russian speaker like Zbyshek come along, and he did some amazing things with relationships and Bible studies and teaching Americans how to be humble and stuff like that. So he's a great guy. Zbyszek, I think you have construction background, don't you? Vocationally, weren't you into construction?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I did some business in construction in England. So
yeah, so I remember that. I've kind of followed Zbyszek's life a bit since Kazakhstan, and I guess I first got reacquainted with him because I learned that he had gone to Beslan, which is where they had that big school massacre. Was it 2000? When? 2004. And if you don't know about that, some folks, what would we call them? Terrorists? Yes. They took over a school on the 1st September. How do you say it? 1 September? No, that's Spanish. I'm mixing my Spanish now. Anyway, I have to say, I was at a Spanish bakery here, a Mexican bakery, and they only speak Spanish in there. And I was trying to communicate to them, and the lady had her phone and she was using Google Translate. And I was asking simple things, Zbyszek, like, do you have any such and such, or when were these baked? Were they baked recently? But they couldn't answer. So, and that's fine. I love it actually, because I was immersed. But when I was talking to the lady, Russian and Spanish was coming out of my mouth.
Oh man!
So anyway, it's funny what happens with language.
Understand that.
Yeah.
Anyway, understand that.
See, I think what the brain does is it takes all the little bits of foreign language that you know, and if you don't know any of it extremely well, it puts it together. So, anyways, Zbyszek went to Beslan after the events of that horrid day where I think close to 300 or over 300 people were killed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zbyszek.
Yeah, 300
and
people.
He just wanted to understand, like, how did this city survive, this little town of how many people, Zbyszek?
About 30,000.
It's just a tiny town compared to what most of us live in, I think. And you know what it's like in a small town. Like, everybody knows each other, or often you see the same people each day. And so he went and interviewed these people, and it was heart-wrenching. And then anyway, long story short, he wrote a book. He published it in Polish and Russian and any other languages.
Yeah.
What's the name of the book if people want to find it?
It will be in English, so you can't find it now, but I hope we will do that one day. Publish it. It's time to do it.
What if? Oh, I would love to be part of that, Zbyszek. I would love to see it. I mean, I still have your first 2 chapters, I think, on my computer somewhere, because you sent it to me.
You should.
And
you should.
I was moved as I read that. So anyway, Zbyszek's been to Afghanistan. He courts danger like James Bond.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a guy who loves danger, but I've been trying to tell him, cool your jets, man. You're a grandpa now. You got grandkids. You got to stay alive for these grandkids. But anyway, I have a great respect for people who have courage like Zbyszek, or you're so crazy you don't care anymore, or something. But he really has a heart for not just Slavic people, but Muslim people, Caucasus people, and I don't know, other people I probably don't even know about. And so I have always had great respect for Zbyszek. We used to play basketball on a crooked floor on Saturday nights with our kids. My son was involved, and I remember playing, and this Bauerjean, I don't know if you remember Bauerjean, he looked at me once, like, why are you playing defense like that? I said, it's the American way. I'm climbing all over you. Plus, I don't shoot well, so it's all I could do is act like a monkey. And he would look at me, and every time he would look at me, he would go, ooh, 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 like a monkey.
No.
Yeah, he would. He would. He didn't try to make me feel foolish, but that's okay. That was Bauerjean.
He was a student. He was just
crazy
playing.
Student. No, those were fun days, because I'm like 35. And I don't know. When you're 35, you're cocky. You think you know everything, and you've had a little bit of life experience under your belt, and then to mix it up with like one extreme were the young people that Zbyszek had brought along, like the Pied Piper of Hamelin, and and then you had uh, older people, like, living in your apartment complex, or I had a student who died, and we went through the whole
Mhm.
process of grieving with this family, and the husband was like an oil executive with
Mm.
Shell, and they had a grandma, a
Mhm.
pie, and Sabrina got really close to this, the grandmother, even though our language was rusty, very especially in Kazakh. We hardly knew any Kazakh,
Mhm.
but Apai was grieving. She lost her daughter because of high blood pressure, and then she had these 2 little kids that were left that were the same age as our kids, and Sabrina just
Mm.
entered into her life and her experience, and, sometimes she just drank tea and tried to
Mhm.
love on this woman, and she loved us back. She loved us back when we needed to be loved, because there were some
Mhm.
crazy things happening back in Oregon that made our lives a living hell. And,
Mhm.
Kazakhstan, Spishik, you probably didn't realize this, but Kazakhstan was actually a shelter for us, especially I'm not kidding you. It was weird because you wouldn't think it would be, but when we got back on that plane the second time to come back, and then I taught at Tian Shan school, we were
Mhm.
so relieved to get on that plane
Mm.
and not be around these crazy family dysfunctioning crud that was going on. And, Sabrina looked at me with like, and I could just see, "Oh, good. I get to go back to Kazakhstan." And it was just so funny to me because the first time you're like, feel like you're dragging your wife somewhere.
Mhm.
And but it's
Yeah,
how the
yeah, yeah.
Lord works. The Lord does this. He did it to me here in the Ozarks. I did not want to come here. I had all my friends and all my beauty and all my ocean back in Oregon. But anyway, I digress. Spish's a
Mhm.
great guy. He's here to talk to you today about Ukraine. He's in London, I think at his daughter's house, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
but you have a house in Poland, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So he often goes, of course, nowadays to the grandpapa. It's
Yeah.
like a magnet now. London is like a giant magnet for him. And so
And
he's
I
a
have
well-rounded
many
guy.
houses. I have many houses in Ukraine right now.
Yes, you'll see what he means by that in just a second. And they're not all in good shape, are they, Spishik? They need some
No, but
repairs.
maybe you can put one together. Maybe there
That
will
would
be
be
one.
great. Yeah, I'm trying to help this other guy, Bucket, raise $80,000 for a house so that he
Mhm.
can he can put these 15, 16, 17-year-old kids who have no place to go, give them a shelter. So
Mm.
it's doable. I'm
Good.
I'm sitting here in Walmart country. I was even thinking, why not go to the Walmart board and they put bike trails in. Why don't you say, "Hey, you think bike trails is important for people? Makes them happy, right? Let me tell you something that'll really make them happy. How about you send
Yeah,
billions of
for
dollars to
sure.
Ukraine or to Kazakhstan and help these poor
Mhm.
orphans and poor people without
Of
houses?
course.
They'd be a lot happier than and the bike riding is great. I like riding my bike, but there's nothing better than helping someone out of tragedy. So come on.
Mm.
I'm seriously considering it, Specific. Please pray for me because I go to church and the pastor is like high level at Walmart. He's in HR, human resources. He's the
Mm.
pastor. So I already have an in. So I'm really thinking
Excellent.
maybe the Lord put me in this
It's
church
like a
to
trumpet. It's
I
like a
know.
trumpet.
Boop. Come on, Tim, do it. Anyway, Spishik has a great presentation, very
Yeah,
sobering,
let's see.
but he has a way of, like it says, James Pawlak stories. He tells stories, and through those stories, we learn a lot about what people are going through. So, Spishik, I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to right now take myself off, but if you want me to come back on, just let me
Of
know. But
course.
I want the
If you have
screen to be
questions, you're welcome. I like
okay.
when you ask questions, and it's easier to
Yes. So I'll
even
do that
have this call.
periodically. I'll
So
I'll put I'll pop back in. So let's I'm going to turn myself off. I can hear you. So if you have any technical problems, just let me know and I'll pop back on, okay?
okay. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for this morning meeting and the time we can spend together. Of course, it's so nice to be after so many years and still be in touch, especially that we are in two different worlds. Although we are very united these days, because the states are very important in this conflict, as you know, and they are even more important that you can expect because the conflict that Russia is talking about is not the conflict with Ukraine. And it's a big difference that probably what you hear in the West or how you view the war in the Ukraine. Russians are saying we are not fighting with Ukraine. We are fighting in the land of Ukraine, but we are fighting against America, the United States, and we are fighting against European Union. We are fighting against NATO, which includes also Turkey. The war they talk about for last almost a year is oops, is about the war with about the war with the West. It's not about the war with Ukraine, and we need to know about it and understand it well. Yes, first month they were saying that they are going to fight with the Ukrainian Nazis, and it's why they wanted to enter Kiev, Kharkiv, and the big cities in the east part of Ukraine. But now they are talking, it's not a war against Ukraine. It's a war against the West, who is using Ukraine to influence and even destroy Russia. And that's why I wanted to share with you today some stories, things that I've seen in Ukraine, in the east of the Ukraine, but also share more about Russia because it's very important. It's a little bit like a turning point of this conflict this month and the last days. And I would like to share a little bit with you. I'm sure you know a lot about it, but maybe it will help you also to understand what's going on over there. I'm talking about the stories that I come up with from my traveling to the east side of Ukraine. We've been traveling there for almost 8 months, and we mostly traveled close to the front line, helping civilians in the liberated areas. And we've been close, like 12 kilometers from the front line, or even from the border with Russia. We can hear the rockets, and we can see the soldiers and the fights, but we don't see the fights. We are not over there because our goal with these organizations that I work with is to help civilians. And I want to take you to a small village because this village helps us to understand the situation in East Ukraine, but also to understand Russians, because the Russians come to Ukraine and they bring, as Ukrainians say, they bring Russian world, which is in Ukrainian or Russian language is Ruski Mir. Ruski Mir, the Russian world. It's why they are coming to Ukraine. They want to save it. They want to save from the influence of the West, of the United States. They want to save it from the degeneration of culture, Christian culture. They want to save it from being used. Their younger brother or smaller brother, as they look at Ukrainians. So it's why they come. But the Ruski Mir looks like that. This village really shows how the Ruski Mir looks like. And you can see on the video, we are driving our van along the Kamionka village in the east, near Izum, about 7 kilometers from the town. This village was bombed for a few weeks in March a year ago. And we couldn't find, there are 3 houses. There is no electricity, there is no heating, everything is destroyed. Maybe 3 houses look okay, but there were around 500 houses About 1,000 people lived in this village. And so we drove in to look closer. And these are the houses bombed with rockets and airplanes for almost a month. There, even the trees, as you can see, it's hard to see the full tree. So this is the Ruski Mir, the Russian world that they are bringing to the Ukrainians. And it's what they are proud of. They say, we come and we bring peace and we bring liberation and we bring new world to you. And they come and they destroy. So the media have their own story, and the truth, which you can see, is very different. The Russians don't show this kind of pictures in Russia because they say we are not bombing Ukraine. We are coming and helping with humanitarian aid. We are coming and helping to liberate the villages from the Ukrainian Nazis, which are trained by British, by Germans, by Americans, or by Polish government. And it's their story. So we come to this village, we've been there twice, and we walk through and we see how it looks like. For 3 weeks it was bombed. After that, the Russians came in and they started to look for the people in the village who survived. They did survive because they hide in basements, and they hide also in made of next to the houses underground, potatoes and some jars with the foods. They hide there during these bombings. This family, the couple, they are farmers. They're big farmers, and the bomb hit their house. We are standing on their house with them. Everything was destroyed, but the destruction and this burned houses, it's a terrible thing to see. But I think even more is the stories that we could hear. After 3 weeks, the Russians came and they came with trucks and they told people, you have like half an hour and you need to leave the village because we are just starting. There was almost no house left standing, but they say we're just starting. There will be even heavier bombing. So people packed their stuff and the Russian trucks took them. Some trucks went to this town, Izium, not far from the village, but the others went to Russia. And we hear about it, that Ukrainians are taken to Russia and also from this village. And this man lost everything, the house. He lost all the machinery, I mean, all the cars and the stuff that he worked on the field. And he was pretty wealthy. Now he doesn't have anything because the Russian soldiers, they took it with them when they left the village. But of course, before they left the village, they lived there in this village. And I remember this Kola, we call him Dядя Kola, Uncle Kola. He told us a story. He's trying to rebuild his house, no roof, but he's trying to rebuild it. He was hiding there when he heard the Russians coming into village. He hid under the ground in a little hole, I would say, where he had potatoes and some stuff there because they hide the stuff during the winter there. And the Russians were coming and they were looking for people. They did not find them in the house. They looked in this little places where people hide. But the first thing what they did, they started to shoot in that hole. And he hid there even farther. But then what they did, if nobody was coming out, they were throwing a grenade inside. And he was injured there, but saved. So he started to scream, there is a man, let me get out. And so they allowed him to get out. And he showed the passport. They allowed him to stay in the house. Of course, the house was destroyed. But it's how they were cleaning the village. And it's what their practice is. They clean the village. and they take people out, or they tell them to leave the village if they can do it by themselves. And then they started to live in these villages, and also in this village. And this lady was telling us, she said, when the Russians came, they were saying, your village is so wealthy. And she asked, why you say it's wealthy? And they said, oh, because you have brick houses made of brick. You are wealthy. You have a strong ground roads. You know, they are good roads. You have even electricity in the village. You are wealthy villagers. So they were taking stuff out of the villages. They say they were taking what they found in a house, because usually when Russians were coming, first were coming the guys from Siberia, from the east, or from the Caucasus, the fighters, and then for like 2 3 days there were trucks coming, and trucks coming, military trucks, and they were taking everything from the houses around. And I could see that what they did not take, they took out of the house, they throw in the front of the houses, and they covered it with the ground so it got destroyed. They did not want to leave anything in the houses. They ate all the animals, the cows, the pigs, the goats, everything. They took what they could from the fields, and of course they took cars and furniture and everything. So it's a Russian mir, called Ruski Mir, Russian world, which they are bringing to Ukraine. And at first, a year ago, people, some people thought maybe it's good if Soviet Union comes back, even Ukrainians, because in the Soviet times, the government took care of their citizens in a way. It's how it was explained. So they thought maybe if Russians come, it's like it was Soviet time, but it's not true. It's how they left the village. They were taking the cars, they were using the cars, they were destroying the cars, and the good cars, of course, they took with them. And everywhere, as you can see, this Z, even on the houses, because these Russian soldiers, they were staying there and fighting with Ukrainian army. Russian soldiers coming to fight Ukraine, to bring peace, as they say, to bring better life. But wherever they are, there is a distraction, there is pain, and there is no hope even. Um, and as I said, the first were coming these guys from the Siberia, from the east side of Russian Federation. And it's very strange because I signed it on this map. This is map of Russian Federation. You see on the left side Ukraine, and all the rest is Russia. But the soldiers that were coming on the front line, who came first towards Kiev, Kharkiv, and also the east of Ukraine, they are coming from very far. They are not coming from the center of Russia, not from Moscow or St. Petersburg. They're coming from very far. And one of these countries is Buryatia. And I show it here where Buryatia is. And Buryatia is almost 5,000 miles from Ukraine. And that's why Ukrainians ask the question, why? Why are you traveling so far to fight us when there's nothing, totally nothing common between us? And we are Europeans, you are Asians, and we haven't done anything to you. Why are they coming there? Especially that they live in totally different culture. It's more like East culture, like Chinese culture. They are Buddhists, and you think, why Buddhists will go for a war, especially against the other country, and even not their neighbors, and for sure not the enemies? What is it? They live close to the beautiful lake of Baikal, and they have old, very nice culture. And there is a shamanism in there, there is a Buddhism in there, and a lot of Chinese influence and the culture, and they look Asian. I mean, why would these people go and fight Ukrainians? And there is a reason. This is how Buryatia looks in the wintertime. You know, it's totally different than Ukraine. I mean, these worlds are so far from each other. So why do they go there? Why are they doing this thing to them? And they go there because they go to bring stuff. They go because they need washing machines, because they're good. They want cars. They take even boiling water kettles to, you know, the electrical ones, but they don't take these bases, you know, the electrical bases. So because they never use it, they know that it's good, that it boils water, but they don't know how to use it. So they take only these plastic tops, and they will never, you know, boil a water in it. They go to war because they have not enough money to support their families, and it's Russia, it's Russian Federation. People are starving, and people are living in a very difficult situation there. And on the Guardian, the British news, please look at this, and I hope you can read. These are the guys from the Siberia. No, sorry. One more time. Sorry. So why are they coming? They are coming for money. They come because they have not enough to support their own families. And this is what Putin is using to win the war, is to use the starving guys, people living in hard and difficult conditions, and they bring them to Ukraine. In media, they say they bring them to Ukraine to help Ukraine. The truth is, they come to Ukraine to take whatever they find, and it's one part of this Russian Second World Army. I mean, it's an army, the second army in the world, and they come to fight because they have not enough money to support their families at home. And the second group, which I also show on this map, is the people in the Caucasus Mountains in south of Russia, about 1,000, I think, kilometers or miles from Ukraine. Why are they coming to fight Ukrainians? What the mountain people have against Ukraine? Why these people who were victims in 1990s, victims of the war with Russia, their capital was destroyed, totally destroyed, like the village that I showed at the beginning, Grozny. It was totally destroyed. The children were killed by the Russian soldiers. It was terrible. It was terrible war, first and second Chechen war. Why are they now joining Russian Federation and fighting against Ukrainians? What happened to them? The truth is, they are going to fight as people who fight the holy war. They are Muslims, and they go to fight Ukrainians because they believe that they fight with Satan. They fight against Christian faith. They fight about people who live different life. They don't come to fight for Russian Federation. They come as Muslims, and it's what they call for. And their president, Kadyrov, he is calling all the Muslims to join his troops to fight Ukrainians because they are bringing sin to the world. And listen to his call to Muslim countries to fight Ukraine. So why are they going there? Yes, they go there because they have their own aim. It's not about good life of Ukrainians. It's not about helping Ukrainians. It's not about Nazis. It's not about what the Russian Federation and TV is saying. It is their own holy war. And it's why the Ukrainians are dying, and it's why the civilians are dying, and it's why they are taking children out of there. And the third group, which comes to fight Ukrainian people, is the Wagner group. They come, they are paid, they did fight in Syria, they fight in Africa, and now they come and they fight in Ukraine because they are just paid. They do it for money, and they are killers. And it was a big group, but they were not doing as good, and they had big losses. So what was happening? Their leader came to Russian prisoners, and he was recruiting from the prisons. So now, in this Russian army, we have prisoners, people, the killers, the thieves, the people who were locked because they could not live in a normal society. And these people, they come and they bring Ruski Mir, the Russian world. They are coming the good value. They come to bring good values of Russian culture. They come to teach Ukrainians how the world should look like. This is all lies. This is nothing about good world. This is nothing about better life. This is about winning the war. This is about killing. This is about stealing. This is about doing all the evil. And it's hard to believe that we are talking about situation in Europe and the war in Europe done by this kind of people. But today it's not as easy. A lot of prisoners were killed. A lot of Wagner groups, people were killed. A lot of Kadyrov people were killed. A lot of Siberian were killed. And Russia today is standing in a very difficult situation. They are starting again the second wave of mobilization just 3 days ago. They started to mobilize in a new way. What does it mean? Just 3 days ago, they changed the law, and even it's against constitution, but it doesn't matter. You know, we talk about Russia. I mean, we talk about Putin. He is Russia. He is their Tsar. He is their king. He's the most important. So he does what he wants, and people got scared. What does it mean? It means that today every Russian man can be recruited to the army. How? Before, somebody was coming, police or somebody from the army, and they were giving the notice to a person, to the civilian, to the citizen. And he could come or he could, bring some excuses. But now there won't be excuses. They are now recruiting by internet. They say it's your fault if you don't know that you got the notice. You need to call us and you need to check on internet if you got the notice to be recruited to the army. It's not our responsibility anymore. They also are using the app, the national app, which was used and made for easier life for the Russian citizens, where there was, copy of their passports, driving license, everything was in the cloud, and also they could pay the bills, they could do everything, check the doctors, everything through that cloud. Now they will receive the notices for the army also through that cloud, and it's their responsibility to check if they are recruited. So it's not that they can change their address. It's not that they cannot come and say, oh, I was not living there, or oh, I have not received the notice. No, now everyone, almost everyone, is responsible to be aware if he needs to go to the service or not. If you don't, okay, if you don't do it in a month or 3 months, you don't respond, your cloud will be checked out and you are on the list of crime. What does it mean? It means you can't buy a house or any real estate. You can't drive a car. You can't, of course, leave the country. You can't even travel. You can't even buy a train ticket because many times you need to show the passport. It's unbelievable. It's against human rights. It's against their own constitution. And the most terrible thing is, even the Russia is not in a war, because they are not in the war. They are saying we are not in the war. So this kind of a change of the laws is just unbelievable. And today the Russian men are scared. Today they are starting to learn what the war means, and that it's not the war somewhere in Ukraine, or it's a media war with NATO or Western Europe or America. It's real, because hundreds, thousands of Russians are dying on the front line every day. Probably hundreds of them dying. So what is happening now in Russia? It's a big change now. It was about, bringing peace and good life to Ukraine, and we were good guys, we do all these good things. It's what they were told, but not many were going, because people were recruited from Siberia, far, in Russian Federation. They were religious guys coming from the mountains of Caucasus to fight in Ukraine. They were criminals. They were guys coming from Africa and fighting for Russia. But now the Russian civilians for the last 6 months are there, and now even more, hundreds of thousands, probably around 1 million or two, they want to recruit, and it will be very different. How do they do it? And I want to show you how they do it in the national TV. How do they recruit these people, convince them that it's worth it? I hope you can read this English translation.
Хорошая идея. Только через полгода. Вначале нужно решить квартирный вопрос. Прекрасно. И как мы это сделаем? Банк обрабишь? Нет, все в порядке. Я вчера подписал контракт. В смысле? Ты сам так решил? Такие вещи я как мужчина должен сам решать, ведь ты меня за это и любишь.
So why do they go to the war? Because they have problems with living situation. They need to live with parents. They live in conflict. The young couple, they can't afford a flat, a house, a place by themselves. So they need to find another way. So the Russian government is appealing to this kind of people, saying, "Hey, if you come to the war for 6 months, you come back and we'll help you with the living situation. For the veterans, we will have place to stay. You can move with your wife when you come back from the war." So this is one of the ways they want to recruit people. Another one, look at this one.
Или не платить кредит и избавиться от навязчивых коллекторов.
Третий раз к тебе приходит. Оплати проценты по кредиту. Я хорошую прошу.
Мужики, я контракт подписал. 377 федерального закона читали? Кредитный.
So another thing, they have loans, mortgage, and they are not able to pay. They're late, they're in debt. But now, if you come to the army, you have a mortgage vacation. You have a credit vacation. You don't need to pay. You are fighting for freedom of your country, freedom of the country, fighting the Ukrainians or Ukrainian land, and they say that they fight for their country. So it's another way to recruit these people. And look at this one. These films are coming on the TV, national TV, and it's how they recruit them.
Опять задержали зарплату. На тебя вся надежда.
На, забирай.
Спасибо, родная. Ты же знаешь, я как только...
Воевать в Украине значит зарабатывать, рассказывают в роликах. Деньги – один из главных аргументов поехать убивать.
Папе тяжело сейчас. Он ветеран боевых действий. Чуть старше нас был, когда попал в самое пекло. Получил контузию, а затем и награды. Он был одним из лучших наводчиков. А сейчас ему тяжело. Он пашет на заводе, а там постоянные задержки.
Сегодня в Новоуральск, с территории, где проходит специальная военная операция, вернулись военнослужащие войсковой части номер 3280.
Папуля!
So what do you say, Tim, about this last film?
Zbyszek, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is disturbing. I mean, all of what you shared. I've got sticky notes. I've got 15 things to ask you. I mean, I know we want to keep it fairly short, like we said, and I know you have a second part, but let's do that next time. But just a couple of things. This thing that I just saw, these videos, it's just disturbing. It's propaganda, clearly propaganda, and they're trying to manipulate. You know, when people are economically hurting, they can be easily manipulated. We saw that in Nazi Germany. That's how Hitler got into power. You know, World War I was awful, wasn't it? Yes, we're destroyed economically. I can make it better. Okay, sure. Yes, we'll follow you. Yes, but I'm going to do these other things too, like kill Jews and kill retarded people and stuff like that. Oh, well,
take over their goods.
Yeah. Hey, well, that's fine, I guess. Oh, okay, but will I have enough money to feed my family? Yes, we'll give you enough. Yeah, okay, well, I'll close my eyes to that. Isn't that kind of what's happening?
Yeah. So they come, they kill, they steal, they destroy,
like Satan,
and then they go back, and they do it to have better life.
Right, or so they say. You know, this whole thing, when you were talking about, you said they're trying to control people economically. It sounds like the mark of the beast in Revelation. You know, if you take this mark, that when people take when they identify, I think I take that personally as they're identifying with the dark side, with Satan. Okay, they're identifying with the dark side, and
Mm.
they're selling themselves to Babylon, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So it is
But
shocking, isn't it?
the thing that happens is they get controlled
Yeah.
economically. The ability to sell or to buy, that's economics, right? So they're controlling you economically, like what they've done with COVID. I mean, I don't want to go off on that, but there's a certain sense of control of you can only do this, if you're vaccinated,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So it's this control
Yeah.
thing that the beast, you read in Daniel, the beast is
Mhm.
always about control. And anyway, when you said steal, kill, and destroy, that was not lost on me, Zbyszek. We know who in the Bible is described that way, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, but you can see it now. And when I
The other thing I
travel to
wanted
the
to
east,
ask you,
yeah, please.
that was disturbing to me, the Eastern, when you talked about the Buddhist and the Muslims, that didn't surprise me too much because I've heard that before. But to take these vulnerable, and I don't want to paint them as innocent, because people do that in our history I learned, this is kind of a tangent a bit, but I learned a couple weeks ago when I was in Oklahoma doing the Civil War reenactment that the Cherokee Indians owned black slaves. I went, what? I never knew that. The Cherokee Indians fought for the Confederacy because they were pushed out of Georgia or Alabama on what's called the Trail of Tears, and they were forced to go to an Indian reservation, and they were angry with the federal government. So when the Civil War happened, who are they going to side with? The anti-federal government, the Confederacy. And so they owned slaves, which, helped them economically. And so, of course, who are they going to fight for? But anyway, they don't teach you that because they want to paint the American Indian as innocent and a victim. And
Yeah,
anyway,
of course. Yeah.
What you have done today is you're giving us a clearer picture. Now, I don't watch I'm too busy doing my honey-do list, that my wife has for me, or that I have. To be honest, it's my list. Okay, it's my list. It's our list. We're doing things, but I'm very busy. I don't have time to watch a lot of TV lately. But from what I
Yeah, of
understand,
course.
and maybe you could help me with this, sometimes certain people in the American media, and maybe BBC is the same way, they make it almost sound, or they follow the Russian propaganda. And they did side with the Nazis in World War II. You hear that. I heard this. I had a conversation with my own son about this. Dad, they did side with the Nazis. Yeah, but wait a minute. Not, first of all, probably not all of them did, but even if they did, who was the enemy at the time? Stalin. Is he any better? Really? I mean, I'm not trying to paint Hitler as the hero or Stalin as the hero or whatever. I'm just saying there's more to history than meets the eye. You have to go deeper. And what you've done today, you've gone deeper. But I want to ask you, why do you think the media, like, what's their motive? Why do they not tell these kinds of stories?
When we are in the East, traveling there, in March, we were told by the French TV, and they asked, tell us, you were in one of the towns, what's the situation? Because they don't have access. And a lot of media are just taking stuff from the internet and from other media, and they built on this. These are people who sit in their offices in their own countries, and they've never seen a war.
Yeah.
And there are really not many who travel there, and they are there. And we are with these people. The stories I show you or the films I show you are the stories that people who live there, they show us, and they say, we need to chew on that. Russian soldiers, they talk to us about it. They ask us about it. They came to my town or my village, and they were shocked. They said, we don't see any Nazis. Where are they? Are they hiding in your basements? And the Ukraine said, no, there are no Nazis here. We are living here.
Right.
How come you have your cars and you have your houses? We've heard that the Nazis, they destroyed everything. And they said, nobody was here to destroy. This is my garden. This is what I do. this is my my work. This is my garage.
Yeah.
This is how I fix my car.
Again, Putin.
And they say so. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Putin has control over the media. We know this. He poisons his opposition. I just read today that the guy that's his chief, his number one opposition guy, is suffering from poison, and an ambulance was sent to where a prisoner, wherever he's at, and they think it's very serious. He's probably going to die because he's got this slow poison. This is what he does. He puts poison on doorknobs in England and destroys his, tries to, you know, remember back the first president, I think he was one of the first presidents of Ukraine, and he got poisoned and his face just, something happened to his face. Remember that? I mean, come on. This is the problem. It's lazy journalism. I think maybe that's what you're trying to say, is that it's not that people are going, well, you know, Nazism, blah, blah, blah. We hate Nazis. It's that it's lazy journalism, and they don't have sufficient information, or their corporate puppet masters want to spin the story for some odd, you know, political reason. Now here, let me ask you, what if an American said to you, well, Zbyszek, I really am sad by all the pictures you've shown, and it's really makes me sad, and I see the points you're making, but what would happen if we got bombed with nuclear weapons, if Russia got mad at us? You know, what would you say to that way of thinking?
The first thing is that I think the Americans, I don't know because I'm not in there, but I am in Western Europe, and I work with the Dutch people, and I visit my English friends, and they are not aware that, and I want to repeat it, Russia is not fighting with Ukraine. Russia is fighting with NATO. Russia is fighting with Americans, with Europeans, and other, you know, Western countries, or even Japan or Turkey. So they are fighting with us, and it happens in Ukraine. But the war is much bigger, and if it's good we are there, and what we do is also fighting the Russians, because we help Ukrainians to believe in the West. We help Ukrainians to believe that our values are to save people's lives, and it's to take care of even the little ones, and we are there to help them to rebuild. And because they are on the front line, they need to be strong. But I would say to the American or the Western European people, guys, we need to be aware, because the time is different than it was 10 years ago. And Putin was building this, and now it's a time of conflict. If he won Kiev, he would be now on the border with Poland, and probably in a few years would try to enter that. So
and probably the Baltics. Wouldn't he probably go after the Baltics also?
Of course.
And is that why Sweden? Is that why Sweden and Finland are in a hurry to join in?
Yeah, Finland is already in NATO. Yes, and yes, exactly. If I can continue and just finish.
I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just have 5 more minutes, just a few more minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were. Okay, tell me.
No, it's okay. Just a few more minutes.
Okay.
I'm all right.
Now, your screen. I'll share your screen, but right now you have a cute little model lady on it. Is that what you want me to show?
Yeah, I want to show it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. I thought it was your screensaver, Zbyszek.
No. This is a film.
Okay.
This is a Russian film, because they are not only, doing propaganda advertisement, they also produce films. And it's a love story. But behind this, these actors, what do you see is a bridge. It's a Crimea bridge. It's the bridge that is connecting Crimea with the Russian land. And so they make this kind of films. They produce films like Russia 30 years, and they travel with this film to former Soviet Union republics like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and they almost put pressure on the educational organizations, schools, universities, any educational organizations, that people come and watch the film. How great is Russia? And it was a big conflict between Kazakhstan and Russia because of this film, because they also manipulate through that, and they did not like it, and they stopped showing this in the cinemas and the schools. And of course, their country is full of this, like, look, this is Christmas time, yeah, and they put the Z, which is now the symbol of Russian soldiers and the war. I mean, we need to understand that the Russian world, this Ruski Mir, it has changed. It's like it was sleeping for the last 30 years. It was just preparing. It's like KGB work, that we think, oh, they are friends, oh, they travel, oh, we do business with them. But all of it was like make us all sleep and use like a spider, spider net to put around us, because it's terrible what you can see now, what's happening in Russia. I mean, it's what happened to the brain, people who travel to European countries, who took courses in American universities, who were trained by American businesses as managers, directors. Like, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to think about it. They don't believe it. And it happened just in what? In a year? In few days? And I brought also, and you can see it, and I have all these letters. These are pictures. These are drawings from Russian children for the Russian soldiers on the front line. Encouragement. And here you see the first one is Igor, 7 years old, and it's Russian flights, planes going to Ukraine to fight, tanks going for the war. I don't know, but this Igor, he may be at the school with some Ukrainian boys, because there are a lot of mixed families in Russia. Also the Russians to wake up and to think about their future. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on. So the Ruski Mir, the second army in the world, is using, everyone else, but not the real Russians. They are stealing, destroying, and lying. I mean, everyone will know that it can't win. It's too weak. It's yes.
Yes, I agree. Please keep going. I'm listening. Yeah.
No, I try to also express a little bit of my emotions coming back from, like I started from the village, when you see that everything that people, like a man in a house who opened us the house and he was over a little over 50, he said, I was born in this house. I lived all my life. And he had tears in his eyes.
Mm.
And he took us to this little garden. And he said, I can't even enter my garden because of the mines. And I knew every tree. And I buried my mother here. I lived with her all life.
Mm.
This is just, you have this manipulative government, you have this propaganda, you have these kids taught in the schools how grave and brave their people are. And then you meet these villagers who have a question, why? I didn't do anything wrong. I was just, simple man living peaceful life. What happened to me and why? This is kind of the war that is happening in Ukraine.
Yes. And Zbyszek, you being a Pole, your country has a history of,
Yeah.
at least, in the 20th century, your country is what the country that was in the headlines when people realized, wait a minute, I don't think Hitler's into peace. I don't think our little peace plan from
Yeah.
England worked, did it, Mr. Chamberlain? And so what people are capable of, not just Russians, but you know what a neighboring country is capable of, and so you understand the importance of strong national defense, a strong national character, to fight and be brave. And I mean, you listen to this guy. Now, what was he the president of? The guy with the beard that was the Muslim guy. What's he the
Kadyrov,
leader of?
Kadyrov,
And he
Chechen
and that's
Republic.
okay, Chechen Republic. So yeah, so he's talking about how, well, we used to be this way during World War II, and so we need to be that way again. Have a spirit. What did he say? I wrote it down. He said something about having a spirit, a certain spirit. And then you talked about people just greedy. They're just materialistic, like
Yeah.
is sometimes our problem here. People are greedy, and so they take their eye off the important ball, which is, human rights and, the core Christian values, if you read the Bible, are not materialism. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff I want to ask you, Zbyszek, but you've really brought, we've gone almost an hour or 15 minutes. So I think we should bring it to a close,
Yeah,
but
of course.
no, it's fascinating. I think people are going to be really fascinated by, because what you're sharing is stuff we don't hear on the news. I mean, I don't watch the news that much, which is
Yeah.
probably good for me, actually.
Yeah.
Because then I don't get all torn up about things.
No, I just try to share with you what I've seen and the people I meet. A little girl. I was there with a Polish guy in Avdiivka. It's next to Bakhmut, and he told me when the little girl, I mean, like she was maybe 7 or 8, and she has been there for a year of bombing and rockets and I mean poor, everything destroyed. She wakes up, goes outside, and houses are destroyed, and you can't move these children out because there is a law that you can't. I mean, because there is the children trafficking thing. And she came to him and he says, "Could you adopt me?" She was like 6, 7 or 8 years old, and she says, "Could you adopt me and take me from here?" And I'm sure she did not come up with this in her head. She must have heard about it. They talk about it, they dream about it, the different life. And it's these stories are they are in my heart because I see these people, and it's not that you put on the news. It's people are tired of that, but these are real stories, and they are the stories of people who a year ago they did not believe that Russia may attack them.
Well,
Because they were brothers.
you and I, we went to Kazakhstan
Mhm.
shortly after the Berlin Wall came down. And I think there
Yeah.
was a sense, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a sense of optimism like, hey, now people
Yeah.
are going to be free. Sure, there's going to be some hiccups and the mafia is going to control things, but
Yeah.
sooner or later that'll all, it'll work out and capitalism will work and it'll be like the
Yeah.
West and it'll be fair and no bribes and all that stuff. But what you've showed me today is it's a realization that, and we feel this way here in our country where we go, what's happening to our country? What's happened?
Mhm.
Why is it this way? Why are all these school shootings? Why is all this
Mhm.
corruption happening on both sides, Democrats and Republicans? What's going on? This is not the country we remember. There's a sense of that here in our own country. But when you see this almost Stone Age
Yeah.
mentality of, I
Shocking.
must kill, I must
Yeah.
conquer, I must steal, I must have the territory, I must. Why? Why isn't Russia
Mhm.
big enough for you? It's a huge
Yeah.
country.
Exactly.
13 time zones. Does it still have 13? I mean, come
Yeah.
on. Isn't that enough? I mean,
Yeah.
really, you need
Exactly.
your little brother? You need to rape and kill and destroy your little brother? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And anyway, Zbyszek, how
Yeah.
can
Good.
people listen? I know people are going to have their hearts stirred after hearing this, and
Mm.
certainly they want to pray, and we want to pray for your safety.
Yeah.
You're a
Thank you.
grandpa. We want to
Sure.
pray that you can come back to London and Poland and see your
Yeah.
precious grandchild. And I know you feel that too. You feel the fragility of life, but you also know, hey, are we here to protect ourselves, or are we here to lay our lives down for, as Christians? You and I are both Christians, so we know
Mm.
it's about the narrow way. It's about
Yeah.
taking up your cross. It's about sacrifice. It's about being a mini savior, if you will. Walking in Jesus's steps. If you talked about the least of these, the little kids, the old people. Hey, that's a biblical thing. Read First Timothy. The widows
Mm.
in distress, the orphans.
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of the people in distress? Shouldn't we as Christians be the ones to step up? Aren't we the ones the world is
Mm.
supposed to say, look how they love. Look how they love each other. And there's Christians in Ukraine, man. There's a lot of Christians.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
shouldn't people say, look how those Christians love their international brothers and sisters in Ukraine, Africa, wherever,
Mhm.
So anyway, how can we, because I had a little hiccup with giving to the Dutch uh,
Mhm.
organization, and Zbyszek thinks it has to do with some of the international laws about money moving and maybe being
Mhm.
used for nefarious purposes. So he has a theory as to why,
We will.
because I
We
got,
will try to. We will try to find the easiest way if you want to
yeah,
support
but
material. Yeah.
so Zbyszek is supported by his local church in
Yeah.
Poland, right?
Yeah.
And so we're trying to figure out the best way to have a way to get money into what he's doing, because he's bringing stoves, shoes. Do you guys bring food to people?
Yeah. Food, clothes. Yeah.
Food, clothing, hope,
Water. Even water.
a
Yeah.
handshake, a hug, because
Yeah. Yeah.
they're not at a distance. These guys are going into the east. They're
Yeah.
not hanging out over on the little Polish border. They're going into the east where the mayhem and the danger is and the horror is. You saw the pictures. And they're going to the east, and they need our prayers for protection and
Mm.
direction. And Zbyszek showed me a video where he was trying to use Google Maps or something to get somewhere. And you guys got kind of lost, and
Yeah.
you realized, oh man, we're kind of in danger zone here. So pray
Yeah.
for their navigation.
Yeah. It's
pray
true.
pray for their safety. Pray for just little things like pray
Yeah.
that they have fresh water. Pray that
Mm.
they have electricity when they need it. Pray that the internet works. Pray that the cameraman stays safe.
Mm.
Pray that they know what to film, what not to film. Pray that they know when to say things and not to say things to protect
Mm.
people. All
Yeah.
kinds of things. Zbyszek, did I leave anything out? Is there anything else
No,
we
I
can pray?
think one more thing I would like, not just to pray only, but also, if it's possible, help us to make these stories available to other Americans, and go even more public to just sharing, because it's important. It's our history. We are part of it. It's a present situation, and as you could hear and see, there's not as much coming out of the news because the news are, it's commercial thing. People are tired. You don't show. I mean, we have the same in Poland. I just yesterday I was recording at the radio in Poland, talking, through telling them the stories because the news are now, busy with something else, and but people not. And I would like, to have a chance to share more of this kind of stories with people who the truth is can make a big difference because we all can do.
I I need to ask you one final thing because it's fresh in the news, Zbyszek. I don't know if you read about the guy. He was a National Guardsman. He was a serviceman here. He was young, and he was playing. He was gaming with kids, really kids, and he had access to some military secrets about what's going on in Ukraine. And it sounds like he wanted to show off to his little gaming buddies. And hey, I got these secrets, guys. I'm going to post on. And anyway, apparently it revealed that the United States has special forces. I don't know if they're training people or they're in Ukraine. I'm guessing they're probably training people. But now that's supposed to be this big deal that, oh no, people are going to know. So what do you think of that? And how do you think it's going to affect anything in the spring offensive that they're talking about?
It won't do anything. The Russians were talking about it months ago, and it won't change a lot because they've done the same thing, and everyone knows that the West is training and the West is supporting, and the Russians were supporting the Egyptians or Syrians fighting against Israel and against America. Everyone is doing it. It's on the news. It's a big thing, but militarily, everyone knows that it's normal.
Yeah. Well, we have a word, and you probably have the similar thing in England and in Poland. They want to give us a new shiny object to look at, like, a fish, like a little, ooh, look at the shiny, ooh, look at the shiny, oh, so the news cycle, it works with shiny objects. It's like, oh, Biden is in Ireland. Oh, he said something stupid. Oh, let's make a story. Or look at the Irish president. He's so short. I wonder if he's a leprechaun. The stupid stuff like that. And meanwhile, people are getting killed. Little kids are wondering if they can be adopted by some stranger, and all this stuff is going on. One final thing, Zbyszek, how can we, or when are you going to Ukraine next?
In May.
Okay, so we'll be praying for you. And meanwhile, what do you do? Like,
we will be in touch. I'm sure we will talk more before I go, because there are so many stories that I'm sure
and I think this kind of thing was great. If you could do something like this again, I think it's really powerful. And maybe the next time we're together, Zbyszek, Zbyszek and I are working on a way so that people can give, and they will first of all know their money is actually going to the right place and not paying a bunch of overhead. That the bulk of it. Two, that it's something that Zbyszek is related to, because we really believe in you, Zbyszek. And I trust you, and I know you are serious about what you're doing. You don't play around. You don't waste people's money. You don't have a mansion. You don't live in some mansion in Hollywood. This guy is just as real as it gets. So I believe in him. If you give your money to something he's involved in, trust me, I know it's going to get to the right place. But we want to make sure there's accountability with the giving. And then we just want to iron out a couple things, because it's a little sometimes complicated when you wire money from here to there. However, I will say it was easy to wire money to Bakhmut in Kazakhstan through Western Union. I just did that at the Walmart, and it was like this. And they even they have all the information saved now. So they say, oh yeah, you want to send it to that Bakhmut guy in Taldykorgan. Yeah, that guy. And it's all on the computer. It's so easy. So I know there's easy ways to do it. We just have to set up some kind of maybe your church account or something, and we could we could do a Western, and then the people just get a code. They tell you the code, and then you get the money. It's easy. But anyway, we'll let people know, but because I know that not a lot of people were probably up early this morning, but now that it's recorded, I can keep showing it on YouTube, Villa Scriptura channel. I will show it on Facebook. We'll keep percolating it up. like a
Cool. Thank
coffee,
you.
like, coffee, poop, 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 and
Yeah,
we'll make
yeah.
sure people see it. So Zbyszek, it's been great, and
That was good
enjoy.
morning. Thank you
What are
so
you
much.
What are
Yeah.
you going to do today to relax, if anything?
Oh no,
Play
yeah,
golf?
it's of course it's Saturday, and I don't know if you know, but it's Easter
Yes.
holiday today for the
My
Ukrainians.
grandson is Orthodox. They go to Orthodox church, so he's been telling, "Oh, Pascha, Pascha, Pascha,
Yeah, yeah,
Pascha,
yeah, yeah.
Pascha,
Cool.
Pascha, Pascha," and
So we
they've
may
been doing
have some pasta too.
fasts. They've been
Yeah,
doing
exactly.
fasting and all kinds of things. So I'm well aware of this. For
Okay.
my grandkids on my son's side, this is
Yeah.
Easter weekend right now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. So
Okay. Okay. Tim, thank you very much.
say hi to your family for us, and
Yes,
we
of
wish you
course.
well and enjoy
You
that
too.
English spring. I suppose you
We'll
have
be in
rain.
touch. We will be in touch.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, if you joined us live, man, I hope you were as moved and motivated as I am to pray and think about Ukraine, and not let the American media alone shape your conclusions about what's going on. I think all of us learn in life that there's one side of the story, and then there's another side of the story, and then then you look at all the information and you make a decision as to what the truth is. So Zbyszek, I don't know how much plainer it can get than, because he showed us, and he's there. He goes in there, I think he said every 6 weeks or so, and he bravely goes where few men will go. Right on the front lines, and he's in danger zones. We need to be praying for that guy. So anyway, I'm going to end it here, and it's about an hour and a half. I will continue to show that, and I wish you all a great Saturday. I'm off to do a Civil War reenactment this afternoon in Fayetteville. So if you're in the area and you want to see the historical reenactment of the Fayetteville battle when the Union was holed up in some house, I can't remember the name of the house, but it's still there in Fayetteville. And they held off a Confederate barrage and cannon fire and so forth. So our artillery group will be down there with the mountain howitzer. And I think someone's going to give me a musket today, and I'm going to be part of the charge against those federal bluebellies. But anyway, you all have a great Saturday, and I wish you all well. Let's see if I can figure out how to actually turn this